what are the elements of design? Well, they're basically the building blocks of art making. And let's start with line. So line, these are marks that span a distance between 2 points and can be straight or curved. They can be used to create shape and form, as well as give a sense of depth and structure. Whether two-dimensional or three-dimensional, there's no denying that lines have a huge impact on the rest of the elements of design. And as you can see here, this is a lovely organic continuous contour drawing of a woman curled up. That means that the artist put down their pen and continued to draw without lifting it up at all until the drawing was finished. And I think it's really quite lovely and a great example of an artist using line really well. So there's nothing that changes an artwork's emotional impact more than color. This is Vincent van Gogh, and masters like Van Gogh expertly manipulate color to provoke different kinds of feelings. Colors can be used symbolically, they can be used to create pattern, it can be selected to present a high contrast, or colors can be used to create a mood. So this is an example of high contrast. Yellow and purple are complements. They're across each other on the color wheel. And when you pick colors that are across on the color wheel, you immediately have very high contrast. So blue and orange, purple and yellow, and red and green are examples of the three contrasting colors, complementary color sets. Moving on to shape. Shape is the result of closed lines, and shapes are two-dimensional. They're flat and only have height and width. Geometric shapes like circles and squares are mathematically precise, while organic shapes take cues from nature and tend to be curved and more abstract. So this is Piet Mondrian, and he's known for relying on geometric shapes in his paintings. Shapes can be used to control how we perceive a composition. And I would also add that he's using color in a really nice way here, and line. So all three aspects of the elements of design are employed in this painting, which is why it's dynamic. So what is form? When a shape acquires depth and becomes three-dimensional, then it takes on form. So rectangles and triangles and circles become cylinders, pyramids, and spheres when you go from shape to form. They also can be amorphous. So as you can see, the sculpture on the right, you really can't name that as a cylinder, a pyramid, or a sphere, but it clearly has form. In sculpture, form is of the utmost importance, and though it can be easily introduced to a drawing, painting, or photograph using three-dimensional techniques, which we'll talk about in a bit for you photographers. So value is often related to color. You're looking at a black and white photograph here, but value is the lightness and darkness of a color. The lightest value is white, the darkest is black, and then of course there's all in between. So yellow would be a light valued color and purple would be a dark. So playing with value can not only change certain forms, but it can also influence the mood of an artwork. This is photographer Ansel Adams, and it's an example of an artist who expertly uses value to his advantage by using areas of contrast to create interest in his landscape photography. So we have those deep, deep blacks with that very light river moving back into space, dramatic lighting behind the mountains, lots of lights, mediums, and darks. And that's why this photograph is so potent and wonderful. So we're almost done. Let's talk about space. This is an element of art that can be manipulated based on how an artist places lines, shapes, colors, and forms, so all the other elements of design. The placement of these other elements creates space either through positive or negative space. Positive space is an area occupied by an object or a form, while negative space is an area that runs between, through, around, or within objects. And you can see examples of positive and negative space in these legs. If you look at the black uh, as the positive, you see a man's leg in a dress pant with shoes. And if you look at the white as the positive, you see a woman's leg in a high heel shoe. But also on the right, artists often think about foreground, middle ground, and background in their artwork, purposefully placing shapes and lines throughout the space to achieve a sense of depth and space and composition. Um, and that is often also acquired through the use of perspective. And we're going to finish off with texture. This is the element of art that also plays with our sense of touch. It's defined as description of the way something feels or looks like it would feel if you could touch it. Smooth, rough, hard, furry, fluffy, and bumpy are all examples of different textures that evoke different responses. So you now have learned a little bit about the elements and principles of design, and you're going to do an element of design scavenger hunt, taking photographs of examples of all of these elements in your world, in your home, around the building. And there's another presentation where which I'm going to share with you, where you can see an example of my scavenger hunt, and I think it'll give you a lot of guidance and inspiration as to how to go about this assignment.